Tumbler Ridge following the heartbreaking shooting that have shaken their town. No community should ever have to endure such profound loss, and we stand with you in sorrow, solidarity, and compassion. In moments like these, we are reminded of the strength that emerges when people come together to support one another. Tumbler Ridge is a community known for resilience, connection, and care, quality that will no doubt guide them through the difficult days ahead. While words cannot erase the pain, we hope they feel the support of the communities across BC who are holding them in their thoughts. We also want to acknowledge the first responders, educators, and community leaders who were working tirelessly to provide safety, comfort, and stability. Their courage and commitment reflect the very best of who we are. Please know that the Richmond stands with you. We share in your grief, and we honor the lives lost and the many individuals forever changed by this tragedy. With heartfelt sympathy, the Richmond Board of Education. Now I'd like to ask people to stand and join me in observing a moment of silence as we pay tribute to the community of Tumbler Ridge and honor the lives affected by this tragic event. Thank you very much. You can be seated. Okay, I believe we have still a couple of announcements. Trustees, who has them? Trustee Sargent.
Thank you very much. Briefs regarding the 2026-27 annual budget will be accepted without prior notice at the March 11th and April 27th regular meetings of the board. April 22nd. Please note that the budget updates will be made available on the district's budget website, and all budget feedback will be considered by the board as part of the budget process, which is anticipated to be completed by May 20th, 2026.
Thank you. Trustee Larson?
Thank you. February 25th is Pink Shirt Day. Pink Shirt Day began in 2007 when a student in Nova Scotia was bullied for wearing a pink shirt to school. It has since been recognized annually as a day to stand against bullying and to advocate for greater acceptance, respect, and inclusion for all. This year's theme, Sprinkle Kindness, reminds us that small acts of kindness can have a big impact. The artwork shows a child sharing an umbrella with friends as hearts fall like rain from the sky. The board's strategic plan Priority 2, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, outlines our commitment to promote inclusive school environments where all students develop a strong sense of personal identity, feel safe, and have a deep sense of belonging. Let's work together to sprinkle acts of kindness and grow empathy and compassion throughout our community on this day and all year long. Thank you.
Thanks, Trustee Larson. Secretary Treasurer Wang, are there any materials not included in the package available to the public?
Yeah, thank you, Chairperson. All information has been posted on the district's website.
Okay, thank you. Adoption of agenda. Trustees, unless there's any additions. Oh.
Thank you. Chair, I would like to add the recent letter from the Ministry of Education and Childcare to the agenda under correspondence.
Okay. So noted. Okay, with that one addition, I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Larson, second by Trustee Wong. All in favor? Wonderful. Presentation, brief, and special recognitions. We have neither of the three, so we will move on to questions from the public. I have been asked to sort of read a statement, just comment. Before we begin the questions from public portion of the agenda, I'd like to remind everyone that participation in this session must be respectful and in accordance with the District Code of Conduct and Policy 201, Board of Operations. As for Policy 201, each speaker will have up to 2 minutes to ask a question or make a brief statement, and the total time allotted for the portion of this meeting is 30 minutes. The board expects comments to relate to items of the public agenda and to be meaningful and courteous. The chair may intervene or end participation if conduct becomes disrespectful or inconsistent with the code of conduct. Thank you for your cooperation in maintaining a respectful and orderly meeting. We do have a speakers list, so if anyone, do you want to keep it? Mr. Lang has the speakers list, so if you want to speak, he will be set up on the side there. Or, yeah. And having said that, questions from the public. Members of the public are invited to come forward with questions regarding agenda items. Yep.
Hi, Dean Billings from the Richmond District Parents Association. Maybe it might be a question just to confirm I understood what Ms. Sargent said. So the budget process, is there going to be a time to almost delegate? Because we did a survey among the PACs. We got 24 responses. So I'd like to go through that with a bit of time instead of trying to kind of cram it into today. But so if that's the case, if I can come back and do like a 2 or 3 minute thing instead of just shoving my question in today, then that would be good.
Over to
Is that
the
the case?
Secretary Treasurer.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Dean, for that question. And through the chair, you're welcome to submit any budget-related comments through email to my office as well. And staff will review your comments and questions and get back to you for sure.
Okay, so it would just be an email process, not able to present?
Yeah, so that I think that will be like that type of process will be more helpful, so that staff were prepared to provide meaningful response to your questions.
Okay. If it's possible, I would like to present, because like I said, it was I can send you all a summary of that. Go ahead.
If you can send us a brief, and then, because people are allowed to come up and not only ask questions, but make statements as well, as I just read. But we would prefer, we would like to have a brief sort of in advance. People who present briefs like that, usually we get the information or we get an idea of what, what's going to be said, so.
Okay.
All right,
Sounds
so
good.
the opportunity's there, just send us a heads up.
Okay, will do. I'll send it with a request for next meeting or something.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Any other questions? Okay, moving along. We have an executive report. The UC?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. Just brief remarks tonight. There is so much to celebrate across our district, and each week I make it a priority to visit schools. In fact, I have 2 more visits this week, so very much looking forward to it. I'm always inspired by the vibrant learning and impressive achievements that has come to be the hallmark of our school districts. A number of schools are looking at hosting the capstone projects, and of course we know this is an opportunity for students to apply their knowledge and skills to real-world challenges and to showcase their creativity, critical thinking, and innovation. Of course, I'd like to thank district staff for highlighting the different ways that we honor excellence across our district. Our schools continue to offer different opportunities to our diverse learners through projects, student performances, athletics, and all sorts of co-curricular programs. And of course, that's only possible because we have staff and volunteers who create these opportunities for young people and for our students to experience success, because we recognize that these opportunities contribute to a well-rounded educational experience for students, and we're most grateful that those opportunities continue to exist. As students engage in diverse and meaningful learning experiences, one of the things that we're most proud of is that we continue to emphasize how we focus on all learners and that happens within environments that are safe, inclusive, and supportive. And we continually strive to ensure that all students, different backgrounds, regardless of their backgrounds and their identities, continue to experience success and learn in our school environments. And for that, we can all be proud. I just want to thank the entire team. Again, we do this work as a collective, staff, both the school-based, central departments, working together as we continually work towards a goal of ensuring that all students are successful, and excited again that we had the opportunity to launch our the 2026-2030 strategic plan with our principals, vice principals, our system leaders last week, and very much looking forward to continuing that conversation. And I've requested that at each site, both school sites and our district sites, that those conversations happen, and I'm confident that those conversations will continue as we transition from the good work that is happening in the district. That work continues. As I said in my conversations with staff, this is not a new thing. This is a continuation of that journey, and we'll continue to build upon the success that we're most proud of. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Moving along to approval of minutes from prior meetings. We have a record of in-camera meeting held of the board on Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. We have a regular meeting of the board held Wednesday, January 21st, minutes for approval. Trustees, you have the minutes in your package. Unless there's any errors or omissions, I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Sargent, seconded by Trustee Wang. Thank you. All in favor? Thanks. We have business arising from prior minutes. We have a recommendation from regarding school traffic safety. We have a report from the Secretary Treasurer attached. Would you like to speak to it, please?
Sure. Thank you, Chairperson. Following the board's direction, staff engaged with our school administrators, and thank you for our RASA folks for engaging in this exercise during January 2026. And we have gathered a lot of feedback regarding school traffic safety. The feedback collected through this process will be very informative for our facilities department to enhance their processes, refine priorities, and sequence implementations of any potential traffic safety measures. There are also findings that are related to concerns outside of our school properties, around the school zones, in the city streets or crosswalks, and they are consistent with those previously raised by the Board of Education to City Council in their letter dated October 2025. So the feedback will provide information to guide our staff's discussion with our partner organizations, including the city, RCMP, and the Traffic Advisory Committee. So that is my brief report, and I welcome any comments or questions from trustees.
Okay, before we go on, I'm going to read the recommendation and get a mover and a seconder so we can go forward. Recommendation of the Board of Education direct staff to continue working with schools to implement traffic safety measures identified through the recent traffic safety study engagement. And further, that the board directs staff to continue working with partner organizations, including the City of Richmond, the RCMP, and the School Traffic Safety Committee, in support of coordinated traffic enhancement initiatives around school zones. Looking for a mover and a seconder. Aye. Oh, okay. Trustee Wong and seconded by Trustee Tablani. All in favor?
Sorry, what are we doing?
Questions?
Oh, sorry. I'm moving too fast. Discussion. Is there anything you would like to add? Okay. Questions regarding the traffic safety. We'll just work our way down here.
Okay, thank you,
Trustee
Mr. Chairman. In the background, there's a mention about the last recommendation about the board writing to the Richmond City Council requesting comprehensive citywide review of the school zone to identify additional traffic safety measures. Have we written, and have we received some kind of reply to our communication?
Yeah. Thank you, Trustee Belisa, for that question. And through the chair, yes, as you know, the Board of Education has provided a letter to council, and council has referred that letter to the Transportation Department. And since then, district staff has been engaging with our city partners and also RCMP and the Traffic Safety Committee to look at the school zone traffic issues or concerns, and looking for measures to address those concerns.
And I guess that's the kind of engagement that is included in the current recommendation, and further that, working with the city. Am I correct?
Correct, yes. So the information we received from our RASA members are going to be very helpful and very informative when our staff engage with our city partners to provide specific comments to the partners, and hopefully to have a comprehensive solutions. Yeah.
Trustee Sargent?
Yeah, thanks very much. Comprehensive report. Thank you very much. And I'm assuming you worked with other people to get the information as well. You know, one thing I'm really proud of is the TSAC, so Traffic Safety Advisory Committee, that has all the stakeholders in Richmond on it. And at Council Board, we receive reports from it, and it's really for the whole city, but really most of the work that the city is doing is in and around our schools. So I'm really proud of that connection, so I'm glad to see that in the recommendation. Because at the last meeting, they really were reflecting on some of the educational pieces that they will be doing to help in that, postcards, handouts, et cetera. Because I think a big part of the traffic safety is around education. And more education we can do with our parents, not only just the signage. I think we all know what the drop-offs are like at schools, and that our principals, who are educational leaders, are actually traffic whatever you want to call them, directors, and that's really unacceptable, but they're trying to create safe spaces. So for me, the report is awesome, and I hope the education part really is pulled out. I know we can support the city more in that work and support our schools. And I think I was at the RDPA meeting the other week, and I think the process, if it could be clarified, that if a school or a parent has concerns about the traffic safety in their school, that they should be going to the principal, and the principal will talk with the teachers, and then our maintenance department to see what we can do, and then, if needed, come to the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee, which our maintenance and our traffic safety people sit on as well. So I think if we can highlight that as well, it will avoid confusion. And then we're working consistently as a district. So really good work. Education, I think, is a big piece we all need to take on more of. And then if there were any big budget items that are picked up from this, I would expect that to go through the budget process and not just through this report. So thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you. Trustee Yang?
Yeah, just before I get into my question, are we doing a round questions and then coming back for comments?
Yeah.
Okay, so just one question. First of all, like my colleagues have said, a big thank you to Secretary Treasurer and the facilities team. What I really liked about what has been presented is that the scope of the investigation, which we asked for in a couple months ago when I put forward this motion, was to look at it from a district-wide scope, and I believe that staff has done that, and so it's not easy work, and I do want to commend everybody involved for doing this. And so the question is just on, so in the recommendation, we're asking, let's see. So we're going to work with schools to implement traffic safety measures. Can you perhaps share a little bit more about these traffic safety measures. I know it's mentioned later on in this report, but perhaps if you can provide a verbal explanation as to what those are at a higher level?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Trustee Yang, for that question, and through the chair. As you can see, under the discussion section, we do have existing programs in our school district. So before I dive into enhancement of the traffic safety measures, we want to commend a small working group comprised of our Assistant Superintendent Director of Facility Services, Manager Transportation, and Manager of Sustainability. So this group of people, they worked at the request of our city center schools. They were looking at a initiative which is called the Active Transportation, because when we were gathering the feedback from our RASA folks, and thank you again to our principals for providing the feedback, we found a lot of the traffic concerns happened during the peak hours. You know, whether it's the drop-off or pickup time, it's the peak 30 minutes, you know, in the morning and in the afternoon. It's volume and it's behavior. So, kudos to our group led by Assistant Superintendent Thompson last year, 2024. We want to address the behavior problems with active transportation, behavioral related initiatives. You know, we want to encourage our parents to walk their students or their children to the schools. And we believe that will reduce the volume. You know, we really want to, and that's an active community initiative as well. So it's good for the kids, it's good for the congestion. So that's one thing we'll continue to explore through the pilot program. Secondly is we do have a school grounds maintenance program, and through that program, our facilities services staff through the grounds department, we do have dedicated staff looking at parking lots, markings, paints on our parking lot. We have one painter. His job during the summer is repaint the markings. And then also we have school facilities. They do have a maintenance program. It's called asset management program. And so through that program, if school principals can identify the issues and then submit a service request to the facilities department. So we have operating budget in the facilities grounds department. We also, when a parking lot reach to the end of its life cycle, we will look at AFG funding, typically ranging from 150 to 200 to address those issues. So to Trustee Sargent's point, if there are programs, potential safety enhancement, for example, expansion of parking lots, those type of requests, they're not covered by the government funding, we will come to the board to request for approval. So that's one potential measures. Other things, when we look at the feedback we received from our principal, from our schools on the school grounds, we're looking at traffic signages, pavement markings, traffic calming interventions, or potential minor capital improvements. So for those type of enhancements, we do have the facility grounds department, they have a running list actually. They do maintain a current list. However, the feedback we gather from our principals are going to be very informative. You know, they can tweak the ranking of these projects, very helpful to identify the severe issues so they can reprioritize these projects. Of course, understand that we are operating under fiscal constraint and resource constraints, but we do want to work with our schools to improve school traffic safety around our school zones.
Just want to comment, we're going
you go ahead.
to jump in. You talked about behavior, and I work as a behavior consultant, and one of the things you look at when you're trying to change behavior is like, what is the motivation? And why are people doing, doing what they're doing? And, it's very important that you attack this problem in multiple ways. And for example, I live by Westwind School, and like come 8:20 to 8:30, it's a nut house, and cars are going all over the place. There's no stopping areas, and people are stopping there all the time. And the first thing you might think of is, well, maybe they don't know. So we need to educate them. But the reality is a lot of them know what they're doing because they've been doing it for the last few years. And so education is important. The other part that what happens is we get someone from the bylaw officers come by. They start snapping pictures, and that has an impact, but it's a short-term impact because once they come once a month, people know that the rest of the month is fair game to go park wherever you want to park. And so when we're looking at this problem too, I always hear a problem like, how can we eliminate these parking problems? And the reality is, it's hard to eliminate behaviors, but what you want to do is you want to manage them. Like, what can we do so that these people think twice about, parking illegally or so forth, so that maybe they don't do it all the time. And so, I applaud the report and I appreciate all the feedback that was given by the principals. They have a tough job because I know parents will come in and tell them what's going on and that crazy driver and so forth. And, from a board perspective, we have to support, we need to support our staff, but also we need to look at a variety of ways to address this problem because there's no one solution that will solve it. It's a deeply ingrained behavior. And also one of the reasons why people do it is they get quick reinforcement out of it in that I dropped my kid off and I didn't have to park down the road. I only had to walk like 10 feet or whatever, and it was worth it because I didn't have to walk the whole way down there. And so it's an ongoing problem, always has been a problem, always will be a problem, but we need to make sure that it doesn't get worse. All right, thank you. Trustee Larson?
Yes, thank you. I want to talk about the behavior as well, and a little bit further to what Trustee Sargent mentioned. At that last meeting, the council traffic people mentioned that TransLink is putting out some kind of a card that's educational and about all the do's and don'ts kind of thing. But I think one thing that's really important for people to recognize is that it isn't just the behavior of the drivers. Often you see a lot of people walking their kids to school, but at the same time, they're not crossing at the crosswalks. They're crossing sort of wherever. And sometimes, the adults are talking away and the kids are running ahead. They're not looking at driveways. So it's everybody has to be responsible, not just the driver. Obviously, the drivers are driving the big machines that are dangerous, no question. However, I think that, like I'm hoping I had mentioned it, that I hope that even because families walking through parking lots sometimes, they forget it's a parking lot. There's vehicles in there, and it's just not being paid attention. So it's an all-around awareness, I think, that's really important, that the walkers, the drivers, everyone needs to be aware of the safety piece. So this was an excellent report. I really like the way it was laid out as well. Thank you.
Trustee Wong, any questions or?
My question is that just like I know that so many just elementary school have traffic patrol is volunteered by the parent. So now I listen that the behavior of a driver, if anything is happened at the parking lot, so is that the volunteer have any insurance cover or anything by school or by the school district?
Thank you, Trustee Wang, for that question. And through the chair, I will try to answer your question. Of course, I'm not a expert in this. I think it would really depends on different schools will have different practices. We might have to get back to you on this one.
Yeah.
It's
If-
school specific.
If like is that so many drivers that bad behavior and maybe argue with the volunteer parents, the traffic patrol. So how can that can solve that? And if that happens, so I really think about is that we encourage them to do that, or we don't encourage the parent be a traffic patrol, yeah, at the school district.
Okay. Thank you. Trustee Tabatabai, any questions?
Well, I have a couple of comments and then a question. Well, I mean, this has been years. It hasn't changed, you know. Sometimes the behavior changes, and I think, you know, phones have not helped when people are looking at their phones and crossing the street, and kids are looking at their phones, parents. But, you know, years ago, my kids went to Westwind, and I think Westwind is still a problem, as you mentioned. The behavior hasn't changed. And we used to hold a traffic safety week. The district used to hold traffic safety week, and create awareness. I think we need awareness all the time, but we used to highlight behaviors, encourage active transportation. We used to kind of promote biking to school, and there is a bike to school week, but that needs to be sometime, you know, in my opinion, every day. And we used to bring out hockey teams and football teams. ICBC, I know, does promote traffic safety with the schools, and they do hold events at the schools. And we also used to do speed watch, where we would be out with the radar gun and the police van, you know, making a point that people need to really be aware of the school zones. We used to mark them. I remember one year lining the school zone with cones from the city. They came and dropped them off, and it just kind of created that awareness for parents. But yeah, I think we have to change the behavior, and I think there's more we can do with you know, making crosswalks more visible by working with the city and repainting lines and such. But now my question was, are we taking this report then to council board, or has it already been discussed? Because I think we need to work together, and I think council board is probably the place to take it, and all the findings and reports from the schools. That was my question.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Trustee Watney, through the chair. So like I said in the report, the feedback we received from school principals are very, very informative. We're prepared to compile the information in a responsible way and meaningful way, and we'll relay information around the school zone, you know, around the school property, on the city properties. We're prepared to have the consolidated information to our city partners and also the Traffic Safety Committee.
Okay, and you'll take that to council board as well?
Council board, yes, we'll provide summarized information to council board.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to do a round of comments before we do the final vote. So, Rod, do you have any Trustee, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A comment, I guess, and a question. The recommendation, I think, recommends a wide-ranging area of implementation. And my first question would be, is there a monetary consideration for the implementations of this proposal? And secondly, would there be a policy implications with regard to the implementation? Because this is giving an authority to implement this, but there could be some impact on other areas. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Trustee Beliza, for the question, and through the chair. So at this stage, we're not expecting to go over our existing operating budget. Like I said, the majority of the enhancement that we collected from our school principals will have to work all of those items through our asset management system process. So, and we do have operating budget, existing budget within our facility services department or the grants department to address these suggestions. So I would say at this stage, there is no operating budget implications. It will be covered. However, if there are enhancement, like minor capital projects that we see is necessary, we will definitely come to the board for further approval. That's for sure. And your other question is about authority, because we already have the existing grounds department's grounds maintenance program. So it is within our operating procedures, processes. So there is no issue in there.
Trustee Sargent, any final comments?
Yeah, just a couple, I think Trustee Wong was relating about parent volunteers, and I think many of us have done that. And many, many years ago, it was stopped because we were writing license plates of people that were not following the rules, et cetera, and then it became parent against parent. So when you do your research, if I'm correct, Trustee Wong, but when you do your research, maybe you can ask principals. I think most schools are really keeping away from that. It was intended to do a good thing, but it really became very controversial, and it caused a lot of issues, and the parents are not responsible for the school safety. So I think if you have any of those, I think you should, obviously a senior team talk about that and what that means as far as legalities, et cetera. So, thank you.
I actually have a question, Trustee Sargent. Going back to those days, I remember kids used to be out there doing the traffic. Now, did the
crossing
kids follow
guards.
the parents, like with the parents and then they moved to the kids, or were the kids and then they moved to the parents?
Well, there were crossing guards.
Yeah.
And I think those aren't around anymore either. So you may want to update that. I think it was all around making sure that kids
Safe.
were not put in those predicaments,
Yeah.
because it's just, we used to host a huge traffic safety awareness week as RDPA, and we worked, as Trustee DeBlotny said, we worked with all the partners. Each school got a box that had yellow ribbons in it. So it was a yellow ribbon campaign. And so all the school, it was huge, and we had a lot of support, but it takes a lot of manpower, and it was really worthwhile, but it was too much. But I would say this card that the city was reporting, I think we can maybe pick up on that as a district and say, what are we doing about this? And even, I know we do a message every September in the paper, but maybe highlighting that the board really respects this piece of paper, thank them, or something, that we use this, it's called a handout. Even getting copies of it, et cetera. I think we can use that as a tool too, to say, because I do think most of this traffic safety is around behaviors. I would say if you speak to fellow parents, I'm at a school every day, and I see it every day. And it's not really, oh, we need a sign here. It's, why is that person in the parking lot? So I think it has to be a real joint effort. It can't just be on us to change a sign or the city to change a sign. We have to have that deeper discussion about changing behaviors.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Trustee Yang?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just a few more comments, and then there is a piece of feedback I'd like to provide, and potentially an amendment that would come with that. As I'm reading through this 3-4 page document, I think One of the things that really stand out for me is we're talking about city center schools and the walk route maps that we've done for one school that's in the package. And I think that's a good strategy to address some of the shortcomings that we have identified in this report, and that, active transportation is difficult in certain neighborhoods. And so, that's something perhaps we can see we should see at other city center elementary schools, or, all other schools for that matter. A lot of it is behavior, that's true, but I think what staff has done in this report is also to outline some very substantial, very real improvements that we can make in the schools as well. As Secretary Treasurer explained, not only are these the educational campaigns, but the consistent maintenance that we do on parking lots, things like signage, those really matter as well. And I think it's captured in this report loud and clear that that action needs to be taken as part of these future implementations. And so, I think a lot of what is in this report confirms what folks are experiencing and are saying on the ground as well, and that there is work to be done. And I think there is room to work with City Hall in this matter, because a lot of our investigation based on what's in this report is about what's within our boundary line, what's outside our boundary line, as we've highlighted when we debated the referral motion, is that in fact there are inconsistencies. And so I think this is good material for the City of Richmond to see as well. There was mention that Council Board receives information on their efforts. I will note that I think in their package, their last assessment of school zones citywide was back in 2022. And so that's been a couple of years. And so, certainly that's would be helpful information to the City of Richmond. And so my piece of feedback on this report, and that leads me to my amendment, is on continuity. And I think some of the next steps that are highlighted in this report, of course, good recommendations and areas for implementation that are shared, but these are high level. And I think if we want to know what future considerations are for each schools, I think there is a reasonable expectation of us knowing how we're going to continue those efforts at each school. And so, and then on top of that, you look at our reporting on this issue. We get updates from FMB, but on building and maintenance related matters, there's Council Board, but there's not a medium for this board to receive regular updates and feedback on this issue. And I think that would be appropriate and helpful for the board if we have an opportunity in the future to share the progress on this very important issue moving forward. So, really to ensure that this work doesn't become a one-time exercise. And I think there is value to reporting back after some time from this, when we're discussing this, to a day in the future where we can, take a look back at what the work has been done and keep our communities apprised. I will say lastly that the challenges around funding, and I think the Secretary Treasurer has done a good job capturing that, in that some work is within the scope of existing dollars that we have, and there are other work that is outside of the scope. And so, in my view, I think that makes the continuity piece even more important, because, we're in rainy days right now with our dollars and the fiscal situation. And so, in times like these, it's good to have that continuity and report back to look at what needs to be done, and if anything, to serve as a reminder for our district as a whole on, what the priorities are in terms of school traffic safety. But then moving forward to when the times are good, to have that continuity and to have that information on what can be done in the future will inform us of, you know, the opportunities that we will have when, you know, we do have those dollars. So with that, I will put forward an amendment to the motion, and around the first paragraph. So I'll move that we amend the first paragraph so that it reads that the Board of Education, the board, directs staff to continue working with schools to implement traffic safety measures identified through the recent traffic safety study engagement and report back to the board on implementation progress in 12 months. So that is my amendment, which I will put forward.
Okay, I'm looking for a seconder. Seconded by Trustee DeBlotny. Do you have any more discussion or any?
Yeah, well, I guess, again, for the sake of, if anything, continuing that conversation, I mean, there are clearly action items that have been identified that we as a district can work on. And if we are able to see a progress report in the future, I think that will be beneficial for the board, our staff, our district, for the overall community to highlight the real work that's being done on the ground. And I think there is value to it. So,
Trustees,
leave it at that.
any questions for Trustee Yang? Trustee DeBlotny? We'll just go through.
Just a quick comment that, you know, I'm in favor of the amendment because I think anytime we're asking for work to be done and work with the city as well, I think we need to do some follow-up. So I think it's a good amendment.
Okay, Trustee Sargent?
Yeah, thank you. I support the amendment, but I would also want to say that in that update, I would like to know what can't be done, and an update that we cannot do this work alone. And so we need to talk to city people, and through council board is one of them, but our staff to staff, to say, here's the document, what can we do, what can you do, how can we work together, who else can we bring in? So I would want to see that. This is not all on our staff. We just don't have the staff. And moving into next year, there's going to be perhaps different priorities. And so if your intent is to give an update about what we kind of done so far, what's left to do, and maybe the discussions that have been ongoing. Because this is going to be an ongoing, and again, I really want to say that this is not on only on our staff. This has to be through the parents. Perhaps it is something we can speak about at our upcoming event with PACS. So we have to involve a ton of people, and it can't just all be on staff. So if the mover of the amendment is the intent is just to give an update, not to say, you know, look, everything hasn't been done or things like that. It's just, I would want to know what conversations have happened and who else is taking the lead on some things. Thank you.
Okay, so sorry.
Just a real quick one. I appreciate what you've brought up because I like the idea of a report in 12 months. I think that's always good to see where we can look at, see what we're done. But this is not something that can be done, as you say, like principals and vice principals are extremely busy first thing in the morning, well, all day, but in those particular times, they can't be out there. Teachers are dismissing kids or bringing kids into the classroom. They can't be responsible for making sure that people are behaving correctly with their vehicles, kind of thing. So as you say, that it's going to take a village, basically, and council board is a good place we can bring that up, and then the two staffs and things like that, and work together to make a really, I'm in full behind the amendment, But I think that's really important, that has to be a piece that's looked at.
Okay, so in getting back to the recommendation, we have an amendment. You want to read the amendment?
To amend the first paragraph to read that the board chair education directs staff to continue working with schools to implement traffic safety measures identified through the recent traffic safety study engagement and report back to the board on implementation progress and goals.
Okay, the amendment is before you. Call the question, all in favor?
Sorry, just on process, it was already moved? The recommendation, was it not? Was it put on the table? So we're
Yeah.
voting on the amendment.
Yes,
Okay.
so we just.
And then we have to go back and vote on the, okay, you don't-
No. Well, okay, you read the amendment, so that's what we're voting on, so,
Question of clarification, Mr. Chairman.
yes.
Mention about implementation updates. My question is, in the implementation of this traffic safety measure identified through recent safety study engagement, would this require a series of updates? That it requires also a series of reporting? Otherwise, it doesn't suffice the amendment.
Trustee Yang?
Perhaps I'll close debate on this amendment, but I think what's important is to allow the opportunity and space to report back. And you know, I leave it up to staff because they have the information and the data behind this. But yeah, I think one thing I will end on is that it's certainly something, traffic safety is something that school-based principals or staff, they have to contend with. But it's also on, you know, district facility staff as well. They have the expertise. And that's why they've recommended these upgrades to be implemented. And what we're asking simply through this amendment is to review this after staff has had some time to go back to the ground and do this really important work. It really is about student safety, safety of everybody. And so with that, I'll...
Okay, so we're going to vote on the amendment, and then we're going to vote on the recommendation, which is basically the same. But voting on the amendment, you've heard the amendment. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, the amendment is carried. With the amendment, which is basically rewording our recommendation, with the recommendation, recommendations before you, noting the amendment, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, we are moving on to the 2025-26 amended annual budget bylaw. We need to do 3 readings, but Secretary Treasurer Wang, you want to?
Sure. Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, I will provide a quick highlight on the 25-26 amended annual budget. So the amended budget has been prepared in accordance with the provincial legislation, public sector accounting standards, and the Ministry of Financial Reporting policies. The board is required to adopt the amended bylaw, budget bylaw, and submit the budget to the Ministry of Education and Childcare by the end of February. The total amended budget, including operating special purpose and capital funds, is totals $377.7 million, and this is recorded in the bylaw in front of you. The amended budget reflects the September 30th actual student enrollment in our school district, and the funding was recalculated and announced by the Ministry of Education. So overall, the amended budget realigns resources with the actual student enrollment while maintaining a focus on classrooms, classroom learning and long-term financial sustainability for the school district. So therefore, we are recommending the Board of Education approve the amended budget by way of 3 readings of the bylaw and authorize the submission to the ministry before the end of the month. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the recommendation from the Secretary Treasurer is that the Board of Education Richmond approve the 2025-26 amended annual budget bylaw by way of 3 readings, and that the board authorizes the chairperson of the board, superintendent, and secretary treasurer to sign the 2025-26 amended annual budget bylaw and submit the 2025-26 amended annual budget bylaw together with the 2025-26 amended annual budget to the Ministry of Education and Child Care by February the 28th, 2026. Do I have consensus that 3 readings of the 25-26 amended annual budget bylaw can take place at this meeting? Yes, yes, yes. Thank you very much. Okay. I will read do the first reading of the bylaw in full. So this is the amended annual budget bylaw, a bylaw of the Board of Education of School District Number 38, Richmond, called the Board to adopt the amended annual budget of the Board for the fiscal year 2025-2026, pursuant to Section 113 of the School Act, RSBC 1996, C-412, as amended from time to time, called the Act. The Board has compiled with the provisions of the Act ministerial orders and Ministry of Education and Child Care policies respecting the amended annual budget adopted by this bylaw. This bylaw may be cited as School District Number 38, Richmond, amended annual budget bylaw for fiscal year 2025-2026. The attached statement 2 showing the estimated revenue and expense for the 2025-2026 fiscal year and the total budget bylaw amount of $377,742,893 for the 2025-2026 fiscal year was prepared in accordance with the Act. Statement 2, 4, and Schedules 1 to 4 are adopted as the amended annual budget of the Board for the fiscal year 2025-2026. Can I have a mover and a seconder for the first reading? Trustee Larson and Trustee Wong, thank you. I now call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? The first reading is carried. I will now read the second reading of the bylaw in summary, as trustees have the full bylaw in front of you. The amended annual budget bylaw has been prepared in accordance with the School Act, ministerial orders, and ministry policies. The total budget for the 2025-2026 fiscal year amounts to $377,742,893. Statement 2, 4, and Schedules 1 to 4 are adopted as the amended annual budget of the Board for the fiscal year 2025-2026. Can I have a mover and seconder for the second reading? Okay, we'll go down here then. Trustee Beliza and Trustee Sargent, thank you. Are there any questions or discussions?
Question.
Yep.
This is a question to our Madam Secretary Treasurer. On page 32, amended annual budget operating revenue and expenses, we have the net revenue of $3 million, which is being transferred to the local capital. And in our amended annual budget, revenue and expense, under page 28, we have a deficit of $3.2 million. Can you explain how this in the financial statement implications?
Yeah, thank you, Trustee Beliza, for that question. So your first question is relating to the capital transfer. So every year through our school district, whether it's in departments, for example, IT department, we need to purchase various IT equipment, and also printer, photocopier, leases, computer leases. So those, and then also through our schools, we have equipment replacement, small furniture replacement, update. So all those things every year, it comes up to approximately $3 million. So that's what the $3 million capital transfer is for. And this practice is consistent with the rest of the sector, and it's done through by following the public sector accounting standards. So that's your first question. Second question related to the budget deficit on page 28 of $3.2 million. So that is related to the amortization. So in accounting term, it's called amortization expense. If you will, if you think about the appreciation, so we have, as a school district, we have large amount of capital assets. As we use our capital assets every year, we depreciate these capital assets. So according to the public sector accounting standards, we have to take depreciation, amortization, reporting on our financial statements. So this $3 million is related to the capital asset depreciation.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to call the question. Oh, sorry. Didn't see your hand up there.
Yeah, thank you.
Followed by
Just
Dave.
comments on the budget. This, for people who don't know, that normally we, our staff work very hard and try and estimate what our enrollment is for the budget process that we went through in May and June. And they worked really hard. And this is now a mid-year kind of catch-up. And what has really affected our budget mid-year is the enrollment decline. And main reasons around that is the federal changes to immigration and the global instability. And I'm not the Secretary Treasurer, I'm just giving my little synopsis. And so those really impacted us with a decline mid-year, which is very, very difficult to do. When we've approved, we've gone through our whole budget process, and now we're being asked to make different changes. And so I really want the public to know how much that doesn't usually happen. And so this time is a difficult one for our staff. And so I just really want to say thank you to the financial staff, our senior team, our stakeholders, our partners, who helped us try and find an additional $3, whatever the number is, on top of what we had already approved. So again, I don't know, Secretary Treasurer Wang, if you just want to let the public know in more of a formal way than I just did, but a real note of thanks. And we are making cuts, and that's difficult for our district. And we did meet with our MPs a few months ago to explain that when federal changes are made, those are perhaps for good reason, but they trickle down to the ground. And this is what we're seeing. And so we wanted them to know that if there are ways that you can make sure that they advocate for making sure the ground is hurting, and we will be hurting more next year. But a big thank you. And so Secretary Treasurer Wang, I don't know if you want to say something in that regard, if it's okay with the chair, but I know your staff worked hard. Thanks.
Sure, yeah. Thank you, Trustee Sargent, for that comment. Yes, you are absolutely correct. In mid-year September, we were, it was a bit of a surprise to the whole system that we find ourselves in a position where we lost students compared to last year, and also lower student compared to what we expected in the spring preliminary budget. So as a result of that, we did receive less funding because the K-12 education funding is directly tied to how many students we have. So following that, in the fall, we led by our superintendent we have gone through a very deliberate process where we wanted to isolate or insulate any budget reductions, in-year budget adjustments from our classrooms. As a result of that, on page 23, you can see we did make a $1.9 million reduction to respond to the less revenue compared to the spring preliminary projections. So under that $1.9 million reduction, a lot of it are central non-school departments. They have taken a additional reduction in their services, supplies, and contracts budget. So that's $1.1 million. And also we looked at non-school departments' budgets and to find efficiencies and also to find those expenditures that we could pause during the school year. So it was a intense exercise, I have to say. We have gone through all our accounts, GLs line by line to find these savings. We did it. It was difficult, but it was a essential conversation, essential exercise that we did because our mandate is to serve our students. So thank you.
Thank you for that. And I think to the public, it looks like we're doing 3 readings. We're putting up our hand and say la vie. But this is a big deal for us, and thank you again.
Okay, Trustee Yang?
Yeah, thank you. And as always, I want to commend our financial team for providing us with this so we could deliberate. And certainly in previous years, what we've done, this is an exercise to make sure that our actuals are reflected and that the amended budget goes forward. And what we've typically seen in the last few years is we've had increases to enrollment, which leads to higher revenues through a larger amount of grant money, grant dollars coming to the district, and then you see that offsetting expense through higher levels of salaries. And those have been pretty stable over the last several years, but I think the crux of our amended budget is, as trustees and the Secretary Treasurer alluded to, is the $1.9 million gap. And this is really that shock wave that we're feeling from that intense reduction in enrollment on page 23, as it is noted. I think it's difficult for us to sit here and approve less money, but it's part of our legislative duty to provide a balanced budget. And so certainly that's what has to happen tonight. But I feel that we're seeing $1.5 million as a mid-year reduction, and those have certainly been felt up and down the district by folks. We've seen our enhancement fund or our inquiry grant initiatives paused for this year. We've seen further reduction in departmental budgets. These measures are to keep those cuts away from the classroom, but considering that we've already made pretty significant cuts when we did our projected budget last spring with a mid-year budget, now looking towards a full year, the 2026-27 budget, this is not a position that we want to be in. And I fear that with this fiscal spiral, that there are drastic measures that, even further drastic measures that are going to happen unless those dollars come. And I think that's where the key is to ensure that whatever we're seeing in the next couple of months through the information from Victoria is something that works for communities like Richmond. And that we keep those impacts away from the classroom as much as possible. It's easier said than done, but for the purposes tonight, I just can't help but set off for me just the alarm bells that is ahead, and just the situation, the dire situation that we're forced to stare down the road from now till the approval of our next budget. So I'll leave it at that, but for the purposes tonight, because we do have to put forward a balanced budget legislatively, that's something we ought to support.
More questions? Okay, call the question.
Just last question.
Last one.
Are there any unfunded liabilities that covered by this report, financial statement?
Sure. Thank you, Trustee Bliza, for that question. And through the chair, there are no unfunded liabilities. If you're talking about liabilities, no, we don't have any unfunded liabilities within our financial.
Thank you for the great work.
Thanks.
I now call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, second reading is carried. I will now read the third reading of the bylaw. As trustees have a full bylaw in front of you. The amended annual budget bylaw has been prepared in accordance with the School Act, ministerial orders, and ministry policies. The total budget for the 2025-2026 fiscal year amounts to $377,742,893. Statement 2, 4, and Schedules 1 to 4 are adopted as the amended annual budget of the board for the fiscal year 2025-2026. Looking for a mover and seconder for the third reading. Moved by Trustee Yang. Oh, Trustee Larson. Trying to even it up, but all right. Are there any questions or discussion? All right. I now call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Third and final read is carried. The 2025-6 annual budget bylaw has been read the first, second, and third time and is passed and adopted this 18th day of February 2026. Thank you, everyone. Okay. We have no new business. It's our second opportunity for questions from the public. Yeah, don't worry about signing. Come on up. One at a time, unless you guys are doing it together.
I do want to come back later and do a more full thing in terms of the response from the survey that we did among the PAC. I did want to mention one thing. So there's been a bunch of, for those who aren't on all the email threads, there's been a bunch of email threads going back and forth. Started talking about, I think we're all talking about, the budget cuts. How does that translate into cuts or services for students? I think officially at this point, as far as I understand, there's no program cuts. That if there are I think the official message is if there's changes to individual enhanced courses and so on, that's school level decisions, not necessarily a direction to provide cuts at this point. However, listening to the discussion, and again, I do want to come back, I'm guessing it's likely that everyone in an organization when this happens, you have sort of like the phone or the phone game, right, where you have one person talking to the next person. You're going to end up with like, even though the official answer might be that there's no cuts, maybe a bit of tightening, like everyone in the organization is going to get that message. Part of the context there is we had an email exchange where it does seem like spontaneously a bunch of individual schools all made the same decision to tighten up some of their enhancement courses. So just be on the lookout for that. Like even though officially there wasn't a direction from up high to cut a bunch of programs, you might have that kind of coming up from the bottom as well, is my comment. The other piece I did notice, so I looked at comparing this district to the other districts. I did bring it up at one of the previous budget planning sessions. I do think if it's Appendix 3 or something like that, the itemized, let me bring it up here, it's the operating expenses by object. You are still one of the higher admin cost if I compare you to Richmond, Burnaby, Vancouver, Surrey, Coquitlam, et cetera. Like if you spent the same way Burnaby did, I know that, not everything's possible, but if you spent in the same way Burnaby did, you'd have another several $1 million for teachers. So it does seem like there is some disparity between districts. So
Is there any questions, though?
no, just those two items, and I would like to come back.
Okay, yeah. Connie, I saw you,
Sorry, I'm just wondering, I'm confused by the enhancement program statement, and I'm wondering, this did come up at RDPA meeting, and I thought we had clarified that that is not actually true. So I'm wondering if the superintendent could just, for the viewing audience at home, just maybe talk about that.
Well, thank you very much, Trustee Sargent. Through the chair, there were email exchange between the RDPA and my office, and I clarified the distinction between school-based programs versus district-based programs. And district-based programs require, we have a formalized process that requires consultation with our partner groups, certainly board approval process for any consideration to discontinue a district-wide program. And so I think the need for clarification is always important, and we appreciate the opportunity to clarify for parents and around those two distinctions. Each school, we have 10 secondary schools, as you're aware. We have, there are local decisions that are made based on local context in terms of number of students who enroll in programs, the viability of programming, the staffing available, and so on. Those decisions are made at a local level. And quite frankly, that's what I've just explained to you is consistent in most, if not all, districts, because we don't at the central office, we do not design timetable for schools. We have school leaders with their staffs. So school administration work with teachers and the staff in those buildings to make a determination around program, course selections, timetable, those sort of things. So we don't, at the central office, we don't get involved in at those levels of detail. However, there are places and there are times where conversations around guidance around course offerings and so on. So if, to Mr. Billings' point around the fact that you might have noticed that in a number of schools, some of these things happen, that could very well be the case in some situations, but those are decisions that are made. They are not centrally mandated decisions. So, and I think it's important to have that clarity. And of course, we did offer, if there's a need to attend one of your meetings, if that's helpful, to clarify for parents how that works. And I'll just conclude by saying again that on this matter, and all matters, please encourage parents to reach out to the principal directly, because they have the specific context that they can explain, and that's very helpful. Otherwise, what happens is that if parents don't have the right information, it's tempting to believe that this is the district or tied to budget. And by the way, this has nothing to do with budget. These are school decisions that are made. And so we try to clarify that. Again, please do encourage parents if they reach out to you to contact their principals. So thank you very much.
Okay. I know who you are, but say your name and then.
Thank you, trustees, and also superintendents. My name's Connie, actually RDPA president. Thank you, Superintendent Nush, just explain about the budget, not the budget cut, because that you've had that program cut, right? So that because the principal and the teacher and also staff make the decision in the school. But actually, I'm going to tell you, this problem I already discussed with the principal in my school. And then she said, this school districts make the decision. It's not their It's not their problem, okay? So I don't know who is the problem is that. Actually, as the parent side, we are not accepted. Thank you. So anyway, I'm here. I'm not going to talk about the program cut. I already heard both sides, school district and the school principal. So kind of like bouncing the ball. Yeah. So it's okay. So we are not going to talk about here. I just want to talk about the traffic. Just to make pieces a little bit clarify for the traffic safety,
Connie, sorry.
whatever you bring up that today.
Before you talk about traffic, you were just talking about a topic, and our superintendent wanted to comment on it, your previous.
Oh, you want to comment on that?
Well,
So,
well,
okay,
well,
sure. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And of course, I would, thank you so much, because obviously you made a comment in a public board meeting. It'll be helpful to just correct the record so there isn't any misunderstanding. What I'm going to suggest, well, first of all, I know this item obviously is not on the agenda tonight in terms of your previous comments. But I understand that obviously this is information that is a concern to our DPA. Would be happy to, if there's a need to have a meeting to clarify, this misunderstanding, I would be happy to do so. So I'll just stop there, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And you have another issue regarding traffic.
Okay, thank you. I will accept that invitation, okay. Yes, about the traffic, sorry. So I think I have to clarify that. So because I am involved the traffic, the city traffic community meeting. So 2 months, 1 time to 2 months. Okay. So and then I was representative of the parent RDPA, and then the city is already very clarified, and the school district also said parent. If a parent volunteer during the parking lots, it's no volunteer, no insurance to cover. Yeah, that's for sure. That staff has already told me that. So, and then I'm not concerned about the elementary school traffic, that because principal, staff, and then every parent, volunteers, they all work together because the kids too young, and then very safe. And then when my kids in Blair school all over 10 years, so I never have a concern about the traffic. But I involved to Burnett after that, so from one day to now, over the 7 years, every day I really worry about the teenager. So suppose a teenager, I don't have to worry about the walk coursework, right? But actually, I really appreciate school district, its attention on the safety behavior. Yes, a parent's driving behavior is very concerned. And then the kids walk to the coursework and walk to the street. It's a very need to concern. So that's why I really recommend school district, and also work with the school principal and staff, how to management the kids walk to the school, because the safety is a very concern for me.
You know, we had a discussion tonight about we had some reports about the traffic reports, and I think it's been made very clear tonight how challenging the problem is. But of course, it's very, very important because we want our kids to be safe. We want everyone to be safe. There's multiple reasons why we have these problems, and part of it is, some of it's education, and some people don't know any better. Some of it has been pointed out as behavior as well, and that makes it more challenging. And so, you know, we need to continually keep working on this, and it's good that, you know, our staff has done a report on it. It's great that we have our partners comment on it as well, because it's going to take all of us to fix the problem. It's not going to be one bylaw that we come up with, or, you know, putting red cones on, you know, in the parking lot or whatever. It's going to be a bunch of things. And, you know, unfortunately, when it comes to behavior, people change in that, you know, what worked what worked one time and making them be better, better around safety and traffic may not last forever, and you need to come up with a new strategy. And so, we feel your frustration because, like I said, the traffic issues have been going on for years. But we need to continue to keep working on it, and we need to come up with new ideas. I think Trustee Sargent had talked about in the previous day, the RDPA had Traffic Awareness Week. Now, I don't know whether that's feasible or not, but the thing is that if it is, and we can be a part of that, then that's great. But this is an ongoing problem, and I think people are aware of the safety concerns. But once again, it's just a challenge of how do you get people to not park where they know they shouldn't be parking, and to slow down when they know they should be slowing down. And I think there's commitment here, and as Trustee Yang pointed out, that we need a report, and not only that, we need people to come back, and so we can check in to see that things are happening or whatever. So I think we're talking the same language and the same issues. But you're right, it is very frustrating, and we want our kids to be safe, especially the little ones and the older ones too. All right, so.
I agree. Trustee Lawson said so. The principal and teacher are doing very busy in the morning. Yeah, they have no time to take care over the parking lot traffic in secondary school. Okay, it's not elementary. So I always talk about the secondary. And then I really ask for school district superintendent will be encouraged. So maybe send some staff to doing the traffic in the secondary school, monitor the parent how to drop off the kids. How to drop off the kids, because they always drop off the kids on the road in the middle of the road, yeah? So it's which very dangerous.
All right. Well, you know what? I don't think tonight's the night to come up with all the.
Yeah, I know. I just want to bring up the pieces.
It's good that you have some strategies, and you can run them past our staff and everything. And in the end, I mean, we're going to do the best we can with the situation.
I'm so happy, school district and also trustees. So you guys talk about the traffic. Yeah, which is our very support for you guys is whatever you do. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Trustee Sargent.
Yeah, it's just a comment that, as our chair has said, it's everybody's responsibility. But I just want to clarify, I do not want our superintendent outside monitoring traffic.
Oh, no, it's not supervisor. So
our principals and our teachers, right? So I just want to clarify that for our viewing audience, that it is not up to our staff to monitor. And in fact, we tell them not to go outside and monitor. It's not their role. They are educational leaders, and there are educational teachers that go to school for a very long time, and we need them to be in the classroom. So traffic safety has to be taken on by all of us, but not by our staff. And so I think the superintendent, I just want to be clear for the viewing audience that the superintendent can talk about the collective agreement if it needs to get that. I just don't want it left for the people that are watching that it's our role. And I'm wondering if the superintendent could talk about that. We do not ask our staff. And in fact, principals shouldn't really be doing it. It's just out of their heart. But these people need to be with our children, and parents need to take ownership about the unsafe places that they are creating. And this isn't a place for back and forth, but we need to clarify some things when they're said. And so I feel I would like to call on our superintendent to just clarify.
Well, thank you, Trustee Sargent. Through the chair, we certainly, in making sure that parents, we share information with parents on, and I know schools do this on a regular basis, just, to be mindful of safety and so on. Certainly we do that, but as Trustee Sargent mentioned, as you know, employees have specific roles that they are responsible for, and And quite frankly, that's all explained in the collective agreement in terms of duties and responsibility. Having said that, I don't want to leave you with the impression that obviously we want parents, we want students to be safe, and I know that schools from time to time, I've seen schools newsletters and things posted on websites just to remind parents. And again, it just speaks to the points that a number of trustees have made tonight. That is our collective effort. You know, we care. We want to make sure that students are safe. We want to make sure families are safe. And thank goodness, for the most part, we have, you know, we don't get into traffic situations in our schools. But again, I would say, not to overstate the obvious, if parents are having those concerns, you know, the school packs, I'm sure those conversations happen. There are reminders that can happen at the school level. So just again, our parents, and we're happy to share those information. And I know schools do share. Like I said, when I go on their website, I see that piece. But yes, definitely, we don't want to leave parents with the impression tonight that we will be assigning staff to supervise, because really, that is outside of the scope of their responsibility. Thank you.
Unfortunately, the parent not follow that.
Yeah.
Interesting, right? Yeah, the principal is already sent out every week for the WAC information, no dropping off. Yeah, education or the parent, either way. So I don't know the student has been educated in the school, yes or not, right? But I know the parent, it's education by principal, but no one listen.
Connie, thank you very much. We've had a good.
So that's why I will highly recommend, so secondary school should be provide the stuff for the volunteer in the morning for the traffic. Yeah, that's all I ask.
I'm going to give Trustee Larson the last word, and then we're going to
Okay,
move on.
sorry about that.
Real quick one. I think it's really been good that you've been here tonight, hearing the discussion we had earlier on the motion was made for traffic safety. Not just talking about Burnett, but every single school in the district was looked at.
My school is already very good.
Hang on just a second. All had opportunity to suggest different things, very, very clear, very thoughtful. And again, when, as Trustee Sargent has said, as all of us have said, it takes a group of us. And I can tell you as a grandparent, when I take my grandchildren to school, it's my responsibility to get them there safe, whether I drive them or whether I walk them. It isn't up to the school to make sure that they're safe, me taking them there. And that's the same with any parents that are taking their children to school, right? So we are all a village to take care of these kids. And I think you'll see that this motion that was passed is because this is a difficult. It's a challenge because people don't pay attention sometimes to education. They go ahead and do it anyway and all of that. And what do we do? So we have, our staff put an incredible amount of work looking into this and into pointing out different things that could be done. It will be looked at again in a year, as you heard us pass that motion. So that's something you can get out there to your parents and explain to them what we're doing that's within, not asking anybody to do work that's not in their responsibility, but of us all working together with that. So there's some really good information that you'll be able to share out with every parent that has a concern about their safety when it comes to picking up and dropping off in the mornings.
Okay.
So I'm glad you were here to hear that.
Thank you very much, everyone. We are going to move on. Moving on to our standing committee reports. Audit Committee.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, Fa Choi.
Audit Committee, our chairperson, Trustee Beliza.
There is no report except just for information. The next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, March 3, 2026.
Thank you, Trustee. Education Committee, Chairperson Yang.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Minutes of the meeting held January 14th, 2026 are attached for information, and our next meeting will be held Wednesday, February 11th. Oh, sorry, we had a meeting Wednesday, February 11th, and the next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April 15th, 2026, 6 p.m.
Thank you. Facilities and Building Committee, I'm the chair of that one. We have minutes of the meeting held January 7th attached for information. Meeting was held Wednesday, February 4th. The next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, March the 4th. Finance and Legal, Trustee Wong.
Thank you, Chairman. Minutes of the meeting held on January 14, 2026 are attached for information. A meeting was held on Wednesday, February 11, 2026. The next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April 15, 2026 at 10 a.m.
Thank you very much. Policy Committee Chairperson Tablotny.
And Policy Committee never disappoints. We always have
Yep.
work for you guys. And so before you is a recommendation regarding naming and renaming of schools and district facilities. And the recommendation is that Policy Committee recommends to the Board of Education that revised policy 701.11R, naming and renaming of schools and district facilities, be referred to partner group review process for the period of February 19th, 2026 to April 10th, 2026. And I don't know if you want me to
Let's get a seconder and then,
going, okay?
oh,
Seconder
we're going to
first.
get a seconder and then, looking for a seconder, Trustee Yang. Now, Trustee Tablotny, would you like to speak to the?
Yeah, for a minute. Just, for several years now, we've had some suggestions for school renaming. And it has come up from staff and the public requesting that the board develop a process for the consideration of school renaming. And it has become, this issue has been more prominent, I guess, worldwide for the last decade. And we've seen some renaming of streets and facilities and buildings and such. So there had been some work initiated in 2020 and 2021 with our past superintendent. The board decided to pause this work to allow for development of district diversity, equity, inclusion policy so that language would be consistent throughout. And so we did adopt May 25th Policy 102, that exactly that, diversity, equity, inclusion. So now we can align this policy with that one as well. So staff have done a broad search of various school districts throughout BC. And there have been a few good examples of policy renaming wordings in some of the school districts. And so there have been some suggestions for policy wordings, and it has been deemed that it's critically important that policy development reflect a commitment to honoring diverse viewpoints while fostering a sense of belonging amongst all members of the school community. So the policy committee has worked on this. Actually, we started working on it June 9th, 2025, and it has been revisited, discussed a few times. June 18th, September 15th, October, November, January, February, and now we are recommending that it move into the partner review process, which will be very important for comments from our educational partners. So that process would be February 19th to April 10th.
Are there any questions for Trustee Tablotny? Trustee Beliza?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just would like to ask for some clarification with regard to the changes. It seems that the changes, why this is being referred to partner group about renaming. because of exceptional circumstances, which is defined, under paragraph 7 of the guiding principles. So this recommendation is just based for renaming,
It is,
and it is being referred to our partner group.
yes, we are putting it into policy 701.11R. We are adding renaming to. So we are making changes to naming and renaming. So it's becoming a naming and renaming policy. Instead of making two different policies, we decided to put it all into one and cover all of that.
And another question would be, who determines whether it is or not within the purview of exceptional circumstances?
Who determines that it's not within acceptable? I'm not understanding the question.
Does it, the board or just the board determine whether it is under exceptional circumstances, or it needs another review for the community to whether or not, to consider whether or not it
I think
is-
we would follow the procedures within the board policy that have been outlined. Yeah. And that would be the same process, or a similar process to the naming as well as the renaming. It's listed in it's all listed in the policy.
All right. Are there any other questions?
it.
I'm not seeing any questions. Going to call the recommendation that the policy committee recommends to the Board of Education that revised policy 701.11-R, naming and renaming of schools and district facilities be referred to partner group review process for the period of February 19th, 2026 to April 10, 2026. Call the motion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion, or sorry, recommendation is carried. Okay. Trustee Tablani, anything else regarding policy committee?
I have the dates somewhere of our next policy committee. Minutes were held, minutes of the meeting held January 12th are attached for information, and a meeting was held on Monday, February 9th, and the next meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 13th at 11 a.m.
Thank you. Moving on to board committee and representative reports, council board liaison committees, our staff reps, anything to report back? Okay. Moving on to BCSTA, our BCSTA rep, anything you want to report back?
So BCSTA 2026 Spring Provincial Council meeting will be held on February 20, 2026. BCSTA AGM 2026 will be held on April 9 to 11, 2026.
Okay, thank you. BCPC, our BCPC rep, anything you want to share?
Yes, that I attended the annual general meeting for BCPC. 26-27 budget was adopted, was approved with 100% of votes cast in favor, and a couple of extensions. So there were some special resolutions to the bylaws. And there was some revising, one revising BCPC Constitution and bylaw language regarding business to be conducted at the annual general meeting, to which is required under Societies Act, introducing new language, setting out the business to be conducted at an additional general meeting. So there always was a AGM in January, there now will be an AGM in June, an additional general meeting in February. So that was the change, and there are, certain stipulations on what will happen at those meetings. and there will be, notice of the meetings coming up at different times of the year. And there were other updates to the BCPC Constitution, and there was a name change for a district to quite a complicated but welcome Indigenous name. And there was elections for the Metro region for the board, BCPC board, and our own trustee Donna Sargent was elected, as well as for the Northern Interior region, and Sarah Holland was elected to BCPC Board of Directors. So there's been several sector calls. Bargaining has been ongoing. At the provincial table, 38 sessions, up to and including January 29th. So they've been working hard at it, and support staff bargaining as well. 12 sessions, and save the date, this year's 2026 symposium will be held in person in Vancouver at the Coast Harbor Hotel, November 30th and December 1st. And I think that's it for me. There was a strategic planning. Oh, that's the other thing. BCPC is also, as well as we have, worked on their 5-year strategic plan, and they have approved it. So there we go.
Thank you, Trustee Tablani, and congratulations, Trustee Sargent, on your re-election. Moving on to correspondence, we did, last minute edition, there was a letter from the ministry. Sorry, I haven't seen it. Can you?
Sure, well, I'll ask the superintendent too to speak to it, but it was a letter late today from the Minister of Education Childcare, and I think it's a very important letter to read. I was very impressed with it. Clearly, the minister is hearing some things that have been happening on the ground and wanted to state the case of how important it is that all children need to feel safe in school. And so I do have a question for the superintendent, and then if you wanted to speak to it too. But is this letter going out to every parent? Thank you.
Well, through the chair, thank you, Trustee Sargent. Yes, in fact, I can confirm that our communications director, Sadler, as that message went out promptly. So I believe families have received it. So thank you for that.
Okay. All right, folks. Item 13, adjournment. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. Trustee Wong, thank you. Trustee Tablani, second. All in favor? All right. Everyone, thank you very much for coming tonight. I don't think it's snowing, but.
Is it?
But we had a snow warning, or we had a warning on the screen there, inclement weather, so. And trustees, I'll remind you, we still have to continue on with our